Long Beach is a difficult street course. I definitely spent more time practicing and running laps at this track than I did for the Chicago street course. For the setup, I went with a 315 because in the last corner it's really just a really tight hairpin, so you gotta use a lot of wheel. So I bumped up to 315. Front MCs are 15 out of 16, and rear MCs is 7 out of 8. And then I changed the front brake bias to a 45/8. You can put the rear MC to a 15 out of 16, and it will help the car feel more stable under braking. But I found a 7/8 has the rear to be a lot more faster. So there's really no run up to this lap. I tried. Some people got a run up to work, but I haven't been able to. Across start finish line, I'm in fourth gear. And then you really have to turn down close to this inside wall to keep full throttle. Bring it to fifth. Bring it to fifth a little bit early. Like if I would bring it to fifth here, like when it's at like 8,600, it wouldn't be too much of a slowdown, and it would help the car be a little more stable. But yeah, you really just want to hug this bottom lane here, and that way you're able to keep it full throttle through the straight. That's not really straight. See, at the end of the straight, that's not really a straight. I have to unwind it to the middle lane. And you want to get right back to the right side, because you gotta get ready for the braking zone. Now to the right here, you see curbing, and you see this other lane beyond the curbing, and this is pit road exit. So once you get to the end of the curbing, right here, see there's the end of the curbing, and there's also this yellow line that I look at. I get on the brakes there. Get on the brakes as much as I can without locking up the tires, or the rear tires wanting to spin the car out. You lose a lot of time if the rear tires want to spin out. You lose a lot of speed and effort in your braking. You're just gonna go straight, and the car's not gonna slow down. So make sure the car is really stable under braking. Trying to get as close to this blue line as you can without going over it. If you go over it, it's a slowdown penalty, so we're trying to avoid going over that blue line because it is pit road exit over here. On the brakes hard. As much as I can with locking up the tires or the rear spinning out. Downshifting all the way to second. And it really is an early turn in for this corner. You're going to try to let off the brakes as much as you can. Try to avoid hitting this big bump here. Try to just roll it under this smaller curbing. You really want to try to maintain speed through this corner. This was a struggle for me to maintain as much speed as possible because I didn't want the car to hit the wall. But you're just trying to let the car roll through this corner. Once I get past this curbing, I start picking up the gas just slightly. And then once I get more confident that the car is going straight and it's not going to hit the wall, then I start increasing the throttle. You can't really go full throttle because you have to keep it to the right still to line up your entry for the next corner. Really getting close to this wall to make my entry good for the next corner. Not full throttle, using as much throttle as I can to keep the car where I want it for entry at the next corner. So I pick it up really strong early, and then I have to let off to keep it to the right. That way I'm not entering where I'm going to be too far to the left. So you really have to be straight on entry. Like that, it's just straight. It's a really early braking zone for this corner. See, about as soon as it comes right in my face, then I'm on the brakes. Yeah, once it comes to my face, I immediately get on the brakes. Trying to get as close to this wall as possible. Don't want to hit that wall because it will destroy your car. So, you have to be careful about that. Getting really close to it. Using as much brake as I can without the tires locking up. You can see I'm even turning towards the curb, towards the wall. I'm turning towards the wall because I want to be to the left as possible for the next corner. And the earlier I start that turn, the sooner the car is going to react. Once I get past this wall here, I downshift to first. And then immediately after I get past it, I'm turning right for this corner. Getting right up next to this fountain. I go to far chasing, really see. I even get on this curbing here, just off this grass and the flowers. Really turning in late, just to get a better exit, to get a really strong exit. You can lose a lot of time on exit if you're being too patient, or if you're turning in too early. Once I get on this curbing here, I'm off the brake, using tons of wheel to get the car to turn. You don't have to worry about your tires, so use as much wheel as you want. On that curbing, you can feel the car bounce, but you want the bounce to be really soft. You can see I get up on there, but you want the bounce to be really soft. Because if it is a rough bounce, then your car will want to go straight into the wall, and you kind of need the exit speed and not the damage to the car. So now that I got through that, off that curbing, we're picking up throttle. Trying to keep the car turned so we're not going to hit this wall. You do not want to hit this wall. And then immediately we're going to flip the car back to the left. See, I'm all the way right to make the corner. Then once I know I'm going to make the corner without hitting this wall, then back to the left, accelerating. Using as much throttle as I can without the car wanting to overturn. So turn too much to this wall or turn too much to the right. I don't want it to turn too much so I'm like out here. And then once I'm out, once I try to get to the left, I don't want it to turn too much that I hit this wall. So I get really close to the wall, just barely avoid it. Accelerating at first, using a lot of throttle once my car is straight, keeping my car to the left to make the entry to this corner better. Upshift to second, pretty normal here, pretty normal upshift. The car feels pretty good while accelerating in burst gear there. Usually it's very sensitive, but if you get a good exit, then the car feels pretty good. Accelerating in first gear, not full throttle, but I'm pretty close. Once you hit that second gear, you can pick up full throttle. I'm gonna ride that for just a little bit, does not feel like very long. And then you're gonna look at this curbing here for your entry. You really have to get a feel of where the braking point is. You can look at the end of this, whatever that thing is. You can use that as a point, but if you do, then you're taking your eyes off the curbing. And you're already starting our turn into that curb. So I suggest just looking at this curbing and getting a feel for where the car is and when you need to get on the brakes. We're going to get off the brakes really quick and let the car roll through this corner. Try to keep a lot of speed. We're not going very fast. We got up to 80 miles per hour, so we're not going very fast at all. So not using much brake, just trying to roll the car through. Avoiding this really big curb, but getting as close as possible to it. Gonna try to stay shallow on exit to have a really shallow exit. That way we're avoiding all the bumps that are out here by the wall. Allowing us to pick up throttle a little bit sooner. Once I get the car a little straight, or like a little bit straighter on exit, I don't want to hit this wall. It's really easy to hit this wall and get a 0x. Up to full throttle once I get the wheel exactly straight. Increasing the throttle as I'm straightening out the wheel. Full throttle, looking at these two what do you call it? Street directions? Or like, it's like kind of like a straight lane, but like a turn lane. We're looking at those two, and that's going to tell us when to brake. We're going to brake in between those two. Brake in between, and we're looking at this curbing here. Don't worry about this wall, you're not going to hit this wall. Not using much brake again, because we're going uphill, and uphill braking zone you don't have to use much brake. And we're also not going very fast. We got up to 84. Aiming for this curb here, aiming to get the right size on this curb. Roll in the center of corner here. See, we're completely off the brakes. Just roll in the center. Rolling with a lot of speed. It's easy to hit this Acura sign, so let's try to avoid that, please. I don't think you want your car hitting that sign. Just gonna let it roll. Pick up throttle when you start feeling comfortable that you're not gonna hit the sign. And if you say you take the corner with less speed, so instead of rolling it with 60, you're rolling it with like 55, then you can pick up throttle sooner. And you can turn the car a lot more. So instead of being afraid of hitting the Acura sign, you'd be like out over here and like exiting the corner like out here. And that's fine, but you have to be really careful on throttle. If you pick up throttle too soon, the car will spin out. So I pick up throttle late to avoid this sign, but I still get a pretty good exit. See, I'm correcting the wheel all the way to the left, trying to keep the car from spinning out. Have to be really careful on throttle here. And I'm also using that turn to the left that I'm taking to get my car lined up for this next corner. Now shifting to third. Using this extra space that it gives me. Braking about at like the 350. Some people brake it at the 320, which is just a little bit further, a little bit closer. But I found this to be more comfortable for me. It was slower, but it was a lot more comfortable, and I could do this on repeat instead of worrying about the tires locking up and me going straight. So we're into third, early downshift to second, really early downshift. Be really careful of this wall here. It's really easy to hit this wall. You want to have your braking straight, but you also want to avoid this wall. We're looking right here. Turning into it. Getting as close as to this wall as you can without hitting it. Really roll in the center. It's really hard on the brakes, then it's kind of like a snap off the brakes to roll the center at a lot of speed. Getting really close to that wall. And I'm just barely missing that wall. So leaving a little more space than it looked like in cockpit view. Using all that curbing. Now in exit, we're going to be really careful with throttle. We're not trying to go all the way out to the wall. We're really just trying to get the car turned and pointed straight. So don't worry about getting the car all the way out to the wall. Just worry about getting the car turned and pointed straight. Barely using any throttle. And picking it up more when I get the car straight. But there's not much grip in the rears in this straightaway. Just have to be really patient. But also trying to be aggressive at the same time. Now that you got the car straightened out, you need to get right to the left. You need to get left really hard. I'm shifting to third. You see I'm not full throttle. Now that I am in third, I'm going full throttle. and I'm braking about the 300 sign here. Just past it. Immediate downshift a second. Getting all the way to the left. It is really bumpy here, so it's a really challenging braking zone. Probably one of my least favorite corners. So you had to correct the wheel on entry, which I really dislike, but that's how it is. Turning right, we're gonna not use much brake, just enough to get the car to turn and not plow the corner. Really roll the center hard. I know we're going 56, but it feels like a lot of speed. Now here you can pick up the throttle a lot sooner than you think you can. So I mean, even though we're like 9 degrees in the turn, we're picking up throttle. You can really get the car straight and on throttle really hard. Be really aggressive. There is a bump in the straightaway here, which you got to be ready for. See, there's a bump, but I really have to correct the wheel to make sure the car doesn't crash. You can watch the bump here. You can full throttle it over the bump like I did, as long as you're being ready for it on the wheel. You can go up to 5th gear here. I like to keep it in 4th. Braking just before the 500. Braking really hard, as much as you can without locking up the fronts. Downshift a second. Use this extra wall space that gives you. Turning in, we're going to take our right sides over this extra curbing. Try to get on the curbing late as possible, so we're really straight on exit. Once I get over the curbing, then I pick up throttle. You need to be really patient on throttle because it doesn't hurt you to be patient. You don't lose any time to be really patient. After you get through the curbing, then you pick up throttle. Still turning the car to the right, because you gotta line up for this next corner. Not using much throttle, just trying to keep it out of the wall here and still turn the car to the right. Trying to keep the rears intact. Really early turn into the next corner and really blind. Still on throttle a lot, but we're already turning to the left. And once I start turning in more, and I can actually see the corner, then I get on the brakes. Not much, just barely tap it. Get the car to rotate. Using as much throttle as I need to keep the car. Using as much throttle and brake that I need to keep this car on the extra curbing here. The left side is on this extra curbing. Really roll and just let the car do its thing. A lot of wheel. Using the brake and throttle as I need to. Using the throttle just lightly to keep it on this curbing here and not the extra curbing. You want to avoid the extra curbing. So I'm just as close as I get to it without getting on it. When you get on it, the car really gets out of control. Downshifting into 1st gear once I get close to this corner, to this hairpin corner. On the brakes to keep the car on this curbing here. You just want to keep the car on that curbing. Yeah, I'm on the brakes there, just keep the car to the left and on the curbing. Into 1st. Really tricky corner here. You want to turn in pretty early. You do not want to hit this wall. It will destroy your car. A lot of brake and a lot of wheel. A lot of wheel. You can really roll the center of the corner here, as long as you make sure you don't hit the wall and exit. So yeah, I mean a lot of wheel. We're going 180 degrees to the right, trying to get this car to turn. This is the tightest corner I've ever seen. I have not driven the next gen on a tighter corner than this. I mean, we're going what, 30 miles per hour through the corner. 20, 26 on exit. We're going 26. I've never seen this car go that slow. Goes faster on pit road at Martinsville than it is in this corner. Gotta be really patient on throttle. We're in first gear still. And first gear is really requires you to be patient, but also aggressive. Unwinding the wheel as we try to navigate this crazy corner. Trying to get some sort of into late apex, but it's really hard to do. See, I'm just using so much wheel, like I'm past 180 at this point. So you can see I'm trying to late apex this. Trying to get on that curving on the later part of the apex. I could be so much closer to this wall, but I was just being really careful not to hit it because I knew how much of a penalty it is to hit that wall. That is something I could work on, though, is be close to that wall. So there's the entry. You're taking a really late apex, trying to get the car to turn. See so much wheel that you can actually see the tire. You can actually see the tire pop out. Really patient on throttle here. Avoid this hitting that wall. But you also have to be aggressive once you get the car straight. You have to be really aggressive in first gear. As much as you can without the car wanting to spin out. Quick upshift to second. And they're bringing it to third and fourth as we bring it home. To the start finish.